Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending today. This is how to prepare for a career in healthcare, and I'll let everybody get started.
Awesome. Thank you. And welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Kinley Smith, and I'm with Cabarrus College of Health Sciences. And I'm joined by a lot of experts today to talk about how you can prepare for a career in healthcare. So before we get started, I just want to introduce my co-moderator today, Hannah Earnhardt, as well as some people monitoring the chat today. Hannah, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Really excited to be here today with all of you.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. And Hannah's going to be asking some panel questions today. And as we're going through, if you do have questions, please type them in the Q&A. It's going to be moderated by Shaniqua Hawking. Shaniqua, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. So happy to be here today.
Awesome. And Robert Gay as well. Robert, you want to say hi?
Good afternoon, everyone. Ask us your questions. We'll get you some answers.
Awesome. Thanks, Robert. And guys, I am joined today by two amazing schools as well, Carolina's College of Health Sciences, as well as Living Arts College with their medical school. And with that, I'm going to pull up my screen so we can kind of get going because I know time is of the essence right now. But with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen here. All right, and I'm going to turn it over to Hannah to introduce our wonderful panelists today. Hannah?
And yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Kenley. So today we're joined by three great panelists. We've got Lori Connor, who is the Director of Admissions and Recruitment at Cabarrus College of Health Sciences, Jamison Donnell, who is the Director of Admissions and Recruitment at Carolina's College of Health Sciences, and Heather Richardson, who is the Director of Admissions for Living Arts College School of Medical Arts. So to get started, we're going to go right into our questions today, but thank you to our panelists for joining us. I'm going to start off with our first question, panelists, and whoever feels most compelled to answer first, please move forward with that. But what can students be doing right now to prepare themselves for a career in healthcare?
I'll jump off and get started. Again, Lori Connor, Director of Admissions and Recruitment at Cabarrus College of Health Sciences. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I think there are a couple of things that students can be doing right now to help them prepare. Science is the basis or the foundation of all healthcare careers. So I think as a high school student, one of the things that you can be doing is focusing on those health sciences or those science courses. If your school offers anatomy and physiology, if your school offers chemistry, which most do, physics, we can go into, just biology, AP bio, any type of science courses that you can take as a high school student will only benefit you in a career. And the other thing I want to highlight is to volunteer, shadow, observe. Those are things you can be doing right now. I know Atrium Health is in North Carolina and South Carolina, and Atrium Health offers a program for junior volunteers where you can go in the summer and you can shadow and observe people in various healthcare careers. And that will help you kind of prepare to know what it is that you like or don't like within healthcare, but it also helps you build that application and that resume when you start preparing for college.
Yeah, and I would also add to that, if you're interested in nursing, a lot of schools have health science courses with once you graduate or once you finish the course, you'll come out with a CNA certificate. So that will definitely help you kind of get the foundation piece of nursing if you're interested in nursing, but also it helps you kind of understand patient interaction, which will be beneficial to really any career field that you go to in health sciences or in healthcare. So just looking at specific things that can kind of assist you, if you know exactly what you want to do, kind of look at those things and kind of get involved. Like Lori said, volunteer. If you have some of those courses that target your interests, definitely get it in those as well.
My recommendation when preparing to work in healthcare is to research the career specialty that interests you. Ask yourself, what do I really want to do and where do I really want to work? Seek out successful people in that field and learn about what they do in their jobs every day. Develop a plan and then work on your plan to reach your goal.
Fantastic. Thank you, panelists.
Awesome. Thank you. And Heather, that really kind of leads us into, our next question, honestly. With so many healthcare career options out there, how can students narrow down their right search and finding their right program?
Again, just Jameson Donnell, Carolinas College. I forgot to do that on the last slide. But yeah, so just volunteering, research. At this point during COVID, I would say Google would be your best friend. Just researching what healthcare is, what it means to be a clinician, to get out there in the field and, do things that you're obligated to do, right? So Google would probably be the best thing, best tool for you to kind of get out there and explore. But post COVID, definitely volunteer, shadow, observe, all areas of interest, I would say, because only then that will help you kind of narrow things down and really kind of focus from there. It's a very broad field. There's so many different careers that you can go into. So it'll be really difficult, but getting that foundation piece of getting in health science schools and in high school, and then also shadowing and volunteering, observing will be really good for you.
Yeah, and I definitely think look for a program that will provide you with the necessary training to be qualified and excel in your field. And this is Heather Richardson with Living Arts College. But I know at Living Arts College, we do offer several programs and we can help you determine which one is best for you. Make sure any school that you're looking for, just make sure that the school has a good record of placing graduates in the jobs that they're trained to do. And ask the program, has some graduates that might be willing to speak with them about their educational experience at the school.
And just to add to that, college is about fit. So you want to go somewhere where you fit so that you can be successful.
Yeah.
Heather talked about college certification pass rates and things like that. That's very important. Also, you need to figure out what's important to you. Is student life important to you? The ability to take certain courses or study abroad, all of those things. What is important to you as a student? And then narrow that down by the schools that offer the program that you want to go into. The other thing I would suggest is, about finding, not only the program, but, as Jameson said, healthcare is vast. There's so much involved in healthcare. I would recommend taking a personality test. For example, in the state of North Carolina, College Foundation of North Carolina, they have, it's not a personality test, but they have a series of questions on their website where you can narrow down and really figure out what it is you like or don't like, and they help you figure out what profession would be best for you. And the other thing I would suggest is once you narrow that down, figure out, because healthcare is so wide, do you want to be patient facing? That's nursing, that's going into the medical field of nursing, doctor, thing like that. Or if you might like people while they're asleep. So you want to go into surgical technology. You might not want to deal with people while they're awake, but really research those things and think about what you like to do. And there are a host of ways to get to that.
Great. Thank you, guys.
So the word success and successful came up amongst all of our panelists. So what are some of the qualities that make students successful in a healthcare program?
I would definitely say drive, consistency, and number one, I would say passion for sure, because you really have to love and care what you do. There's going to be a lot of down times in healthcare, health sciences, during your program, as well as once you transition and become a clinician. But it's what gets you through is really passion. What gets you through school is drive, having that consistency, and being resourceful, being able to find things on your own because everything's not going to be given to you. Being able to, read the text that's given to you, and be able to rely on individuals that's around you. Also relying on faculty, asking them questions, of course. Read first and then ask the question, because that's going to help better sort things out. But I would say those are the main three things that I would mention initially Again, passion, drive, and consistency.
Yeah, because you will be caring for people and they need to know you care. Practice your communication skills, empathize with people because your patients may be facing difficult times and situations. Have a positive attitude and understand how to work as part of a team. Be able to connect with your instructors and fellow classmates in the program.
Definitely teamwork. You know, that's one of the things that I was thinking about. Healthcare is not in a bubble, and certainly the program that you're going to go into is not in a bubble. You have to be able to work with other areas within healthcare. Healthcare is interdisciplinary. So if you go into nursing, you have to be able to work with occupational therapists, surgical technologists. You have to be able to work with pharmacists. So definitely being able to have that teamwork, as well as the ability to multitask and have good time management. I can't express enough how our most successful students have the ability to multitask as well as have good time management. All of our successful students that I talk to, they have a planner, they plan their day, they make a to-do list, and those are things that you can start right now that follow you through your academic career on into college and help you be successful.
Awesome. That's such great advice, guys. And, now I kind of want to have panelists reflect a little bit. We're going to, we've been talking a lot about healthcare, and that's what this panel is about. But, with healthcare career options or even other career options that you may want to pursue, panelists, looking back on your educational journey, what advice do you wish you would have given to yourself when you started your degree program in college?
I would probably say first, don't go to that party on a Sunday night when you have class Monday morning. Just joking. I think the advice that I would give myself is that you don't have to have it all figured out when you first go to college. Everybody thinks that they know exactly what it is they want to do. And believe it or not, and your parents may not believe it, but you do have time to figure that out. That's why, in a traditional four-year school, you take some of those general ed courses. But even in a health sciences school, you'll take some general ed courses to kind of help you narrow down the focus of what you want to do. And there is time to kind of figure that out. But I guess that would be the advice that I would give to my younger self, is to really research. We've talked about that. Explore, observe, interview people in the profession that you're interested in going into. And you don't necessarily have to have it all figured out when you step foot on that college campus.
I would advise students to take as many science courses as possible in high school. That will prepare you for the classes required, especially in our programs at Living Arts College. Volunteer in healthcare facility or find a mentor who will allow you to shadow them and observe, their daily routine. For an adult returning to school, try to find online classes in science and other related subjects so you can get back to the habit of reading and studying.
And I would just piggyback off what Lori said. And I would just say, be patient. It's a lot of pressure out here that, we as college professionals put on you by, asking you questions, telling you about our programs. That's, added pressure. And then college and career counselors, it needs to be there, no doubt. But I would just say, have patience with yourself. When you hear this information, process it. Take some time, think about what you really want to do with your life, and then kind of go from there. Healthcare, again, is you have to be passionate about what you do. And healthcare professionals are truly amazing, and they do some amazing things. They're heroes, not to be a cliche or anything, but they're truly heroes, just putting themselves on the line day in and day out. So you definitely have to have that passion about healthcare and the field, the area that you want to go into. But I would say, again, just be patient with yourself and kind of take a step back, enjoy life, right? Because it is short at the end of the day, and just focus in on yourself and ultimately what you want to do. So patience.
And I'm going to kind of add to that too, that, you know, I'm not, my team will tell you, I'm not an out of the box type of person. Every time they talk about doing something that is out of my box, I get anxiety and it just stresses me out. Kenley is helping me though, she really is. Um, but I want to tell, you know, as a high school student, don't be afraid to try new things, right? Don't be afraid to step outside your box, because you may find that you really like something that you didn't think that you really would enjoy to do. That's why I mentioned things such as study abroad or going different places or trying new things, because you never know. So don't be afraid to do that, because you may find something within yourself that you never knew existed.
And there's no excuses for that either, because these programs that are happening nowadays for high school students are amazing. Amazing. I'm
Yep.
telling you, there's so much exposure, so much access. So there's no excuse. Get out there, get out of your box, like Lori said.
No, that's such great advice, everyone. I agree with everything. You know, I think it's important to get out of your box, do your research, and find your passion, especially going into healthcare. You know, that's what you want to do. And you guys joining us today, wanting to go into healthcare during a pandemic, a global pandemic, you know, I think that speaks a lot about who you are as a student already. And so just build off of that. No, that's such great advice, panelists. We've been talking a lot about, you know, just in general terms, but, you know, we have, all of us here, all the school options today have, you know, a lot of different opportunities in healthcare. And so, Hannah, do you want to go over this with everyone?
Yeah, so there are, like as Kenley mentioned, a variety of programs. There's a variety of pathways that you can take if you're wanting to pursue a career in healthcare. So we've listed out those programs for you for each school. As you can see, Cabarrus College of Health Sciences, they have diploma, associate's, and bachelor completion master's degree programs. Carolina's College of Health Sciences, certificate degree and degree programs. And then Living Arts School of Medical Arts has diploma programs in a variety of areas as well. And so we are going to be sharing, and Kenley will wrap that up for you, but we will be sharing our contact information. But we do want to open it up and, you know, answer any questions that you have, maybe specific to a program or just generalized. I do see we have some questions that may have popped up, and I'm going to open it up to, you know, our panel. Or any of the representatives here today. There was a question that came up regarding, you know, what if math or let's say science is not your strong suit? Do you think pursuing a career in healthcare is going to still be a great option? And I think that's a good one to kind of talk about, because let's be honest, you know, math was not my, it's still not my friend, but it's needed. But yeah, so just any feedback, any thoughts on that from panelists or representatives here today?
Well, to answer that question, I think it just depends on how bad you want it. Everyone has undeveloped strengths, right? Those weaknesses can become strengths at any day. It just depends on how bad you want it, and how much work you're willing to put in to actually, you know, achieve it, right? So if you're not good at sciences, then, you know, put in the work. And if you put in that work and you're putting in all you can, and it's still not, you know, coming, then maybe, yeah, you know, explore other careers or explore other things. But if it's just a situation where you're not putting in as much effort as you could, and you really want this career, then I would say, yeah, definitely put in the work and develop that strength. It'll only make you better.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, healthcare, as we said before, is huge. And you don't necessarily, I mean, the science foundation and the math foundation is important, especially for the clinical courses and the clinical aspect of healthcare. But there are other careers that you can go into where you work in healthcare, but it's not necessarily clinically based. For example, there are social workers, and there are also other types of career fields that work within healthcare. Interpreters, there are lots of things that you can do where you may not necessarily have a strong science or math foundation where you can work in healthcare. So I would explore those if you know science or math is not your strongest subjects.
Actually seen some of the students here that struggled with math, but still became amazing at being a medical assistant and thrived and got hired on their externships. And they just took the extra time to get some extra tutoring. So it's really how bad do you want it? So that's correct.
Right. And I think it's important to point out too, like a lot of the math and some of these programs are specific to that area. You know, there's a lot of maybe statistics, for example, things of that nature, how to do measurements for prescriptions and things like that. So it's a little bit different than, you know, calculus that you are doing right now. But yeah, awesome. Great advice, panelists. Any other questions? Robert, Shaniqua, do we have anything in the chat?
Not any questions right now, but we've still got a little bit of time. So if you have questions, feel free to drop those there and we can have our panel go ahead and answer those for you live.
Awesome.
I will pose a question to our panelists. You all are in the admissions field. So kind of talk about the benefits for students, and maybe, you know, they're looking at colleges, the benefits of sitting down and meeting with admissions counselors at the schools. What should they have prepared when they go into these meetings? You know, is it different for health science programs? Just a little bit of insight. So as they're prepping and preparing, what can they pull together when they come and sit down and maybe meet with one of these institutions or other institutions?
I would say it'll be really good to when you visit, just kind of ask all the questions, develop a list of questions that may be kind of burning for you, list those out. Of course, when you're in the conversation, other questions will probably populate and probably after the conversation as well, like it does me. But I would say develop a list of questions. We have a lot of nuances here at Carolina's College of Health Sciences, and we do a really good job at sitting down with you and relaying those to you, the requirements for each of our programs, and what you need to do, what can kind of assist you. We advise you on the back end. If you're not initially eligible for the program, then we advise and help you there. But I would say the main thing would be developing, excuse me, a list of questions. And then also if you have questions about like your individual courses that you may have taken that are college courses, then bring in your transcript. We can look at that and go over that with you and answer your questions there as well. So.
And I would just say, you know, I agree with Jameson, have your list of questions prepared. You want to make sure you have those general questions that you ask all the colleges so you can compare when making a decision. The other thing is, you know, at Cabarrus, we take a holistic approach to admission. So we want to know who you are. So, you know, when you're meeting, it's very important, no matter what college you go to, that you meet with an admission counselor and that you share really who you are and what you're looking for. Because in the admission process, believe me, if you meet with someone, your name is going to come up and your name is going to stick out. And that admission counselor is going to remember you in some way. So be ready to kind of tell your story about how you got there and what you're looking for, because that comes back within the admission reading process.
I would also recommend to see if there was any current students available to meet with me, or if I was a prospective student. That way I can ask some questions that sometimes other like admissions couldn't personally give since they don't teach the classes.
No, that's such great advice. I think, yeah, it's important to ask questions and, you know, talk to current students or former students. All of that is super, super important, you know, when looking for a college. And, you know, with, you know, developing those connections, I did want to put on here our email addresses for myself, Hannah, as well as Heather at Living Arts College. So you guys could email us, you know, reach out to us. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions, but reach out to us directly, and we're happy to assist you. Any questions in the chat, Robert or Shaniqua?
Yes, we had a really great question. Someone is wondering what are some of the potential benefits and or drawbacks to attending a smaller medical college?
Well, I don't know about drawbacks, but there are a lot of benefits. I will tell you that. Some of the benefits are the small class sizes, small clinical sizes, so that you get to know your faculty one-on-one. You're not a number, you're a name to faculty. And then because you're at a smaller school, when you're going to do your clinicals, the nurses where you, or if you're going into nursing, for example, the nurses where you're doing your clinicals know who you are. They're familiar with the school that you're coming from. So the benefits do far outweigh any drawbacks. I can't think of any I think some of the drawbacks may be, if there were any, are, for example, clubs, organizations, social activities. We may not have the large array or vast of clubs or organizations that you can get involved in, sororities and fraternities, but we do have clubs and organizations, and those are more focused on the program themselves. For example, nursing has CCANs, and surgical technology has their own organization. So, the benefits of coming from a small school, you're dealing with smaller class sizes, the one-on-one attention that you're going to get. You're not just a number, you are a name. We know you by name. And then the benefit of being able to start clinical, most of the smaller schools, as early as the first semester, and get your name out there so that those folks you're working with and you're doing clinicals with in the hospital know who you are.
Yeah, definitely get a lot more attention with your instructors. I found a lot of students don't do well in huge classrooms, so you get more benefits of just being in a smaller, so you get that one-on-one attention as well.
Yeah, and I would echo what everyone said. There's a residential life piece, or student life piece, that's kind of taken away from institutions of our size. We do offer housing since we're part of Atrium Health, but our housing is, of course, not on campus. We're still technically like a commuter campus. Our housing is in Dilworth, Myers Park, and in Charlotte, North Carolina, but there's still a piece of, again, residential life that's kind of taken away, if you will. But I'll tell you what, I went to West Virginia University my freshman year, and I was swallowed in a class of about like over 100 students, maybe close to 200 in my freshman sim class. So that's overwhelming. It was overwhelming for me. And to be honest, if I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I was at that stage of my life, and it required me to, or if it was schools that were smaller, that were really good at it, then I probably would have selected that institution, to be honest. But West Virginia had what I wanted, and it was a bigger institution, right? So I went there. But yeah, so that's what I would add to that.
I think that's important to highlight, not getting, you're not in a classroom with 200 people that you're never going to know. And I think that's huge. I think for all of our programs, at all of our schools, you get to know your instructor, you get to know your peers, you really kind of bond together. And there's, definitely some opportunities to grow in the actual profession you're going into, as well, with different, student organizations, what have you. So I think that's great to point out. Any other questions? Have we gotten any? Everyone's been quiet. Any questions for our panelists? Everyone's still eating lunch. Probably. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, awesome. Well, we have a few more minutes here. If you do want to type them in the chat, happy to answer any questions you may have. I do want to go back to just to show the different programs again, for our different colleges on here. There's a little bit of everything for every type of student on this list. Whether you're wanting to go into a clinical part of healthcare, if you want to do more behind the scenes stuff, like Lori said, if you prefer people be knocked out when you deal with them, that sort of thing. So, just take a look at these, and, if you do have any questions, please type them in the chat. One question I do want to pose, for seniors this year, I know there's probably some seniors joining us, and hang in there. I know it's crazy with COVID and senior year happening and your college search happening. You know, there's a lot going on. Panelists, what advice would you give to seniors right now going through the thick of their college search?
I actually have a senior in high school right now, so it's tough. You know, a lot of the in-person visits are canceled, so you can't necessarily go to that campus and visit. But what I would suggest you do is to really schedule virtual visits, virtual information sessions. Most of the colleges right now are hosting virtual information sessions. You know, as Jameson said, have your list of questions ready so that you can go back and compare. And the other thing I would tell you to do is to explore alternate options to figure out what it is you want to do. You know, you can't go to that campus and tour and talk to student ambassadors or sit in on a lecture, but you can potentially see if you can sit in on a lecture through virtual means, or if you can again do the one-on-one virtual session, or if you can get information from a student or a student ambassador at that college where you can ask questions. All of those things can be done virtually and can help you try to determine what it is you want to do. And the other thing is, you know, the FAFSA opened up. Financial aid is very important. We didn't talk about financial aid. The FAFSA opened up, I think, last week. So going ahead and applying for financial aid early is very important, because that way, you know, you'll know what you're eligible for once you get accepted to a college. But a lot of financial aid money is first come, first serve, especially state aid. So going ahead and applying for financial aid and getting everything completed so that once you have been accepted, you'll know if it's affordable for you and your family.
Yeah, definitely start looking at scholarship money or free money, grant money now. You should have been looking at that already, but definitely start if you haven't started at this point. I do have a story about a scholarship, but I'm not going to share it on this call. But basically, I got a scholarship that basically I didn't even fit the criteria. I filled out for it. I completed the form for it and received the monies. It was like $1,500, and I was going out of state and all that good stuff. So, you know, hey, definitely apply for as many scholarships as you can. Look for them because they're definitely out there. Ask your career counselor, guidance counselor, whoever's in place there. And then also when you meet with these, when you meet with colleges and you meet with cool folks like us on this call, everyone on this call, except for me, I'm not a cool guy. But no, just ask the questions about like what monies are available and how can you, you know, potentially apply for them, those sort of questions. So that would definitely help you.
We also have another question for the panel. What if you want to do pediatrics and emergency medicine? Not all at once, everyone.
So I guess with that, I'll say if you're going into a healthcare profession, a lot of the areas of health sciences will allow you to do clinicals. And in those clinicals, you will be able to go to a variety of settings, and you will get the exposure that you need to those settings to continue to figure out if that's really what you want to do. Also in that process, and I guess I'm going down the right, and you know, answering the question, you can do pediatrics and you can do emergency medicine. You can do both. Jeff Gordon's Children's Hospital, for example, has pediatric, and they have an emergency room or emergency medical section just for pediatrics. So you can do both. I would also recommend, again, research. We've talked about research, researching various areas of pediatrics as well as emergency medicine to see if you are a good fit in that area. You know, our surgical technologists, I think of emergency medicine when I think about surgical technology. And do you like adrenaline rush? If so, then emergency medicine is probably for you. You know, do you get excited when you hear about blood and guts and gunshot wounds and things like that? Then emergency medicine is probably for you. So, you know, just researching, thinking about different areas within the two. You can mix the two, and then you know, whatever program you decide to go into, you will have that opportunity to do clinicals in a variety of those settings. I hope I answered that.
Awesome. Thanks, panelists. No, I think that's great. Any other questions that we've had come in? No?
Kenley, I want to go back really quickly to the question where we talked about preparing, seniors preparing now. We talked about financial aid. We talked about the questions that, you know, students need to have written down to ask. The other one is references. And we didn't hit on references. A lot of colleges require references, professional references from a college counselor, guidance counselor, you know, supervisor. If you're working, it's very important that you are able to get those references or those reference letters, and those references speak highly of you and are able to really drill down on your strengths and weaknesses. I wouldn't suggest getting a reference from your guidance counselor or your college counselor if you've never sat down and had a conversation with them, because do they really know you? So really thinking about the people who you want to give your who you want to complete reference forms for you or reference letters is very important in the application process. And I will tell you, colleges do pay attention to references.
Thanks, Lauren. No, I think that's important to highlight. You know, references, even some colleges require essay questions, things of that nature. You know, any other advice, panelists, that you can give in terms of the application process? Because, you know, that is starting up for next fall already. You know, when should students apply? How many schools should they apply to? You know, that sort of thing. What advice for students on that?
Well, definitely get the deadline of
I'm gonna
all.
pick on people.
I'm sorry. Oh.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So definitely get deadlines from all institutions that you're interested in, and gather the proper documents required. It's pretty much as simple as that. Talk to each institution, again, develop those questions, know what you need to turn in, when you need to turn it in, know what you need to have for the application, like all documents. Don't just read it on the website, but also ask questions to ask the question of the admissions representative as well, because only then it will be clear, right? So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thanks, guys. Any other Q&A questions? Hannah, any other questions for the panelists?
No additional questions from the Q&A. I know we've covered a bunch of things today. I'll just reiterate too, you know, we keep talking about how important it is to talk to an admissions representative, and we sincerely mean, please contact us because at the end of the day, you know, if you decide to go to our school or you need to go, or you decide to go to a different school, like we want to make sure you're on the right path. I know when I was, you know, trying to select which school I was going to go to for my undergraduate, I wish I had someone to, you know, hold my, like, guide me, like, am I making the right decision? And that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that you are successful when you're applying to our school, or if you have questions about your career, we want to make sure we get you on the right path there.
And the other thing, I know we're talking to high school students, and you know, the majority of high school students have parents who want who want to participate in the process. And you know, it's important because most of the time parents are paying the bill for you to go to college. But at the end of the day, you are the one who is having to complete those assignments. You are the one who's having to go to class. You are the one who will decide if you're miserable or very happy at a college or university. So one of the things I would say is just be present. Be present in the process, because at the end of the day, again, it is your process. Communicate with your parents and let them know, you know, what's going on. If you receive a user ID for financial aid, they need to know. They need to know what's going on through the process. but you need to be present. You need to be present in the process. Complete your own financial aid application, complete your own admissions application, because we know when parents complete the admission application, believe me, we know.
No, I think that's great advice. Students, take ownership in what you do, take pride in what you do, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Apply to different schools. Apply to multiple schools that may be the best fit for you. No, I think that's great advice, panelists. Any other last minute? I know we're almost out of time here. Last minute call for questions while we're here, that sort of thing, type them in the chat. But no, great job, panelists. I appreciate everyone taking some time out of their day-to-day to join us during a pandemic, during all of this crazy COVID stuff. So appreciate you, and especially during the lunch hour. So I hope everyone had some good lunch today while joining us. But anything, panelists, that you want to add before we wrap up?
Good luck to you all, and appreciate you all joining us. We wish you the very, very best and hope to see you, talk to you soon.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, guys, I don't think we have any Q&A. So that's all I have. Anyone else want to add anything before we close? All right. Well, again, thank you all for joining us today. I appreciate you guys taking the time, and like we've been saying, contact us. We're here to help you along the way. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, that completes today's session. Y'all have a good afternoon.
Thank you.